A client of mine, a dedicated childcare provider here in North Carolina, thought they were helping their community by accepting more children than allowed under staff-to-child ratio rules. They didn't realize that one single hour of being short-staffed would lead to a licensing charge that threatened their entire business. No allegation of abuse, no allegation of neglect, and no bad intentions. Just a ratio violation. And that's exactly why you need to watch this video. If you own or work in a child care center in North Carolina, staff-to-child ratios are not just guidelines. They are some of the most strictly enforced rules in the entire child care regulatory system. And here's the scary part. Most violations don't happen because providers don't care. They happen because of everyday situations. Someone calls out sick, traffic makes a substitute late, or enrollment creeps up faster than staffing can keep pace. Today, I'm going to break down what North Carolina staff-to-child ratio rules actually require, why even brief violations can trigger serious consequences, common mistakes that get providers in trouble, and how to protect your license, your livelihood, and your career. So let's take a look at what staff-to-child ratios are in North Carolina. And we're going to start with the basics. So North Carolina child care regulations set strict numerical limits on how many children a single staff member may supervise at one time. These ratios depend on a number of things: age of the children, whether care is center-based or home-based, and whether children are grouped or mixed age. That means different age groups in the classes together. For example, infants require significantly lower ratios, so more staff to the infants. Toddlers and preschoolers allow slightly higher ratios, and mixed age groups must follow the ratio for the youngest child present. These rules are not flexible. There's no grace period, it's close enough. If you exceed the ratio, even briefly, you are technically out of compliance. And inspectors are trained to look for this, and they do. Because from the state's perspective, staff-to-child ratios are directly tied to child safety. The argument is simple. Fewer staff means less supervision means increased risk means potential harm. Because of that, ratio violations are often treated as high priority findings, even when no child is actually harmed. I've seen cases where a violation lasted less than half an hour. Patients were unaware, children were safe, yet the providers still faced a number of things, including a formal licensing violation, points against their compliance history, and increased monitoring or follow-up inspections. And the scary thing is, intent doesn't matter nearly as much as compliance does. Most ratio violations happen during completely normal situations, like staff member calls out sick last minute, you got a substitute that arrives late due to traffic, flat tire, normal thing. Child's dropped off early or is picked up late, things out of your control. Or you have a floating staff member that steps away to handle an emergency in another room, or an enrollment grows faster than staffing plans. One of the most common mistakes I see is trying to, just make it work temporarily. Some providers think, it's only 20 minutes, we're actively hiring, or we'll fix it before the inspector comes. But inspectors don't look at effort. They look at results. And if they walk in during the window of noncompliance, the violation is already complete. And here's where things get really dangerous, because a single ratio violation can lead to formal written findings, increased inspections, probationary license status, civil penalties, or even suspension or revocation when you have a serious or repeated cases. Once you're flagged, future inspections are often less forgiving and every small issue receives extra scrutiny. That's how one mistake turns into a pattern, and how providers suddenly find their entire business at risk. Here are a few practical steps every North Carolina child care provider should consider. You want to overstaff whenever possible. You want to build in buffers for sick days, emergencies, and late arrivals. Have written contingency plans. Reason being is inspectors like to see that you've thought through emergencies and staffing gaps. Train your staff on ratios, and not just the directors or administrators, everyone. Everyone should know when ratios are at risk and what to do immediately. Document everything. If an issue arises, detailed records can make a huge difference in how a violation is viewed. You want to get legal guidance early, because waiting until after enforcement actions start can limit your options. One more thing, administrators cannot count towards staff-to-child ratio when there is only one administrator on site. Staff-to-child ratios might seem like just another regulation, But in North Carolina, they can be the difference between running a successful childcare business and losing your license. Most providers who get cited never intended to break the rules, but good intentions don't protect your career. Compliance does. If you're a North Carolina childcare provider and you're worried about staffing, ratios, or an inspection issue, don't wait until it becomes a licensing emergency. If this video was helpful, like it, subscribe it, and share it with another provider, because one small mistake shouldn't end a career.